Everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fight Chat Friday from TKD Coach Academy. We're in episode 191. We're looking back at the last European Championships held in Lublin, Poland, and in this episode we're going to look at the final of the male -57 senior sparring. That's Yassine Talhaoui from Spain, Finn Martin from Ireland, and this is a fight that we've seen a couple of times before, so let's see if this particular iteration of it gives us something new to look at or offers something new.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one is a serious fight. We've got the highest numbers that we've seen so far from this Euros anyway, and a stark contrast from some of the higher divisions that we've had a little bit of analysis on so far. So we'll get into the numbers later, but first off, let's get right into the fight. So as expected, you have two lads coming out with that high front leg that they both have, and a lot of clashing. So I expect a lot of dolios from Yassine based on what we've seen in the last fight, and then Finn trying to use more of a side kick direct shot. So it's that traditional battle of straight line versus circular shots from the get-go, with the first couple of seconds in at least.
And they're looking to run a bit of interference as well, because an awful lot of the advantages that are going to come from either fighter here are from what you might call the small mistakes, or the little breakdown like this, where someone managed to get the leg above, and Finn's done a lovely job of getting the changing it up to the axe kick and coming over the shoulder. But what's really unusual for this kind of a match compared to most of the ones that we've watched on this channel is that a headshot isn't a death sentence, you know, for the other person. They're both very, very capable of very high scores across the match.
Yeah, so we see Yassine for the first time coming under the leg as an option to get the hands, and it seems to be a successful attempt from him. But now we see back to the front leg from Finn again. Really good control of his distance. He's able to usually negate the distance really, really well, but it forces him then to back up when he needs to create that distance again to get the space when they come in. And we see that there with Yassine. He was able to get the hands, and then the distance was needed for him to step back, obviously for Finn to create the gap to be able to get a kick in. Yeah,
we can see Finn's already conceded 3 warnings 1 minute in, and this is fairly standard. We expect that quite often from Finn, as you said, because he's using that front leg so dynamically. It sometimes means when he takes a defensive shot, he has to give up a bit of ground, and if the pressure is sustained, and as Yassine has been experimenting with those direct blitzes, coming under the leg and finding an angle to go to hands, he's able to maintain a little bit of pressure and force primarily exits. It's not usually a loss of balance or a fall or an illegal technique from Finn. It's almost always the exit.
Yeah, Finn really has a solid front hand position as well, which really helps him when someone does get the hands. Lovely hacks there. So he's really,
absolutely
really
beautiful.
Good at just kind of using that front leg to test and just to ply, and then all of a sudden it comes over the top, whacks down the head. But it's still 2-2, which is interesting because, as you said, the headshots sometimes aren't worth the value that we used to give them. So that's a talking point in itself maybe, but we see a few exchanges of Dolly Chaggies here, back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you could say is it's not a side kick straight to the face, which is one that you'd say, okay, well, 3 judges should see. With the hacks, it doesn't come north-south. It's not coming from top to bottom. So there is the possibility that some of the judges will say, well, I didn't see it come over that shoulder and hit that side of the face. I didn't see the foot land. But that still is very, very rare. You'd expect to see at least 2 and possibly 3 judges give a downward kick. And in thinking that last one, as clear as it looked to us, I think he only got the 1 on that second card.
Yeah, so far half-time we have Yassine in the lead, and from the outset it looks like anytime he gets the hands, he's getting a return on the scoreboard. And it's the long direct kicks, obviously with some headshots included for Finn. So we'll see if this battle ensues again. But so far it's a lot of testing and in and out movement from Yassine. And it's Finn trying to use the leg as best he can. He uses the hip really well, which is the maximum distance, which allows him to keep everything long. And then, as I said earlier, that front hand position he does have gets him out of jail more times than not as well, which is very effective. But we see both lads really, really good in terms of the amount of the contacts they're getting. Nice shot there from Finn, and a back kick on the exit at least, rather than just backing up.
Yeah, although maybe a slightly unusual warning there for Yassine. Oh, very, very nice. So we did see Yassine take the shot to the hip, and it gave an opportunity. Finn given the avoiding sparring warning there as well. But Yassine presence of mind to be able to take the foot out of the direct line, and actually very, very similar there again, just finding an angle around that straight front leg and finding his way into contact.
Yeah, I don't know if this minus point here was for a bit of ill discipline or whether it was for a grabbing situation in the previous exchange. It's hard to make out, but I think it kind of just kills it a little bit. I don't think it was necessary. Lovely, lovely shot again from Finn. But Yassine, he doesn't stop once he, like most of the time, if you kick someone in the head, their reaction is probably going to come back at you directly to get that back. It's just a human instinct. If someone gets a good shot on you, you're going to want to get it back straight away, especially the competitive mindset that these particular two guys have. They're both fierce competitors, so they want to get the shots back as soon as possible.
So interestingly, the referee was asking the JP there about a potential foul on that exchange, which I think would have been particularly harsh.
Yeah, again, Yassine trying to get to the hands, and he's really getting some success when he does. But we always talk about it. You can outwork somebody who is really good head kicker because it's a 3-to-1 ratio, and Finn's after banging in maybe 2 or 3 already. Even though Yassine is getting success, it's just because of the scoreboard and the way the scores work. It's just not going to be good enough for you unless you really, really outwork the other person, which isn't the case, and we'll see that on the score and the metrics later on.
And this is a match where you have to look at it. It's like there's a huge 7-1 card for Finn, but the other 2 cards until that score just there were really in play, very, very close. So I do wonder, with the time that was remaining, is Yassine pushing a little hard? You know, considering there really is only a point or a couple of warnings in the match at that stage. Can he be a little bit more by the numbers? I don't know if it's his style, I suppose, is the only thing.
That's it, but that's what he gives. I'm not really sure why this minus point came back. I think it can only be for grabbing, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll bring it back and take a quick look.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, do sometimes if you feel a little harsh for giving a minus point, you just cancel it out. I don't know if that's something that people consider, but sometimes it looks that way from the outset anyway. It
can do. So we're looking for here. Oh, okay. He did actually get... there was it's an unusual one. I just want to bring it back and see if we can actually see it. The way it transpires, I think he actually ends up with Yassine's head under his right arm. Yeah. Okay, that's a fine foul. There's nothing wrong with that one.
Yeah, a bit messy, But what we do see again is success coming back for Finn. For Yassine from getting to the hand. So we do see now one card coming back a little bit closer again. And we do have, because of that foul, a little bit more in play now. If Yassine can push for those extra warnings, maybe it might help him on that card to bring it to a draw.
Yeah, absolutely. It brings it down to any score plus a warning will do.
Yeah, so there we have one there now with that 8-8 card, if he can sneak that back. And unfortunately, this minus point kind of just kills the excitement of the contest for now. And then the lads have to wait a little bit longer for the umpire committee to come in for the third foul, potentially.
Yeah, we have no idea what that one was for, though.
Yeah, no, he does look at the JP for a little bit of reassurance, and obviously he gives it. So I'm not sure what it is from my point of view. I don't think I'm going to be a good referee at any stage anyway. So from what I can see, I'm missing all these in the live action. So the referees, to be fair to them,
they don't get much time to look at it.
No, they don't have that slow-mo and the replays that we have here, sitting down nice and comfortable. So it's a bit of a different situation. Anyway, when we do see this one, if we just look at the game state, well, we have this opportunity. 3-1 to Finn. It looks like he's comfortable, but still 8-7 is not a very comfortable card, considering the 3-0 there might be a little bit out of reach and the 9-0 completely out of reach. But still, there's enough there for Yassine to still fight for a draw and take this into an extra round. He can still live to fight another day here with 14 seconds left.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what should be going through his head. That should be what his coach is talking about at this point in time. It's not about throwing anything at it. It's a case of you need to get that 1 point, well, I suppose 2 points really over in your favour. So you're looking for a good score.
In 14 seconds, it's realistic probably to get that warning as well if he can.
Yes.
Up to the 9. Because especially considering the way this fight has gone so far, but it ends up actually him getting a warning, which you don't want, because that might take a point from you if he goes to 6. So that's the situation we're at now with 10 seconds left. A bit of clashing. He gets the hands really well again, and we see that the hand drops, which actually kills it for Yassine. That little touch of the floor actually takes away that card that little bit further now again. And he does get the hands really, really well. 4 seconds left. Let's see what happens.
Again, an unfortunate warning for that one after the x-ray.
Yeah, and he was getting good success from it all along, to be fair.
Yeah. And he pushes right to the very, very end. It's
0.6.
Yeah.
And Finn. This referee does like to have a little bit of space between the fighters, which does favour Finn definitely with his style. And then he tries a nice hook kick as a big full mark, full exclamation finish, but doesn't get the score. Either way, European champion, and 2 in a row for him with a Worlds in between as well. I think he's the most consistent senior fighter that is around at the moment. I don't know off the top of my head if anyone else has won Euros, Worlds, Euros from the last 3 campaigns. So fair play to him.
Yeah, probably not from the last 3. If you step back a year, step back 2 years, you run into Alamine and others like that, where sure there was quite a bit of consistency from a few people. I'm trying to think. I think Sam Del Roca has 2 Euros in a row, hasn't she? But I don't think she got the Worlds in between. Did she get the Worlds?
Sarah won the Worlds.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, so there's definitely possibilities there. Kira obviously didn't do it this year, but I think she would have had a very similar run on that as well. But
let us know if we missed anyone out there. Anyway, I'm not too sure. Maybe
we're not doing it on purpose. Good question. I'm sure we can be corrected.
Week, so.
Can't be too unhappy with us.
Either way, let's get stuck into the stats of this one. I think it's, as you can see from the fight that we did have, absolute barn burner, loads of action, what we want to see from ITF. Great back and forth. Massive carry count from Finn as expected. He's able to translate a lot of those into good haxes and side kicks as well, which is what you want to see. We spoke about that in the last 2 episodes, that you can't have a carry with nothing else. So it needs to either have the Nerio or direct side kick after it, or usually it's actually quite funny how this works. It's either usually you have a Nerio and a side kick, or you have a Dalio on hands, and that is kind of transparent again for this particular fight. Yassine had the hands and the Dalios as his option, and a couple of spins here and there as well, with some Goros thrown in to mix things up just with some clashes.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this match comes along the lines of Finn is definitely the more direct fighter. It's the front leg, it's kick, clash and go higher. It's the side kick and the hacks, as you say. And it's put the forward pressure on with the leg, and then you have the defensive shot off the leg as well if needed. The hands are there to get you out of trouble if things get mixed. From Yassine's perspective, he's got a, it doesn't really show in terms of the variety of the number of shots that we're seeing here, but he's required, or he's given himself the role of picking the indirect shots. He's looking for the turning kicks. He's looking to come under the leg, around the leg, find different angles, go to hands. And I think when you look at that, those are all really respectable choices, but forced choices as well, because if he could just go through Finn, he would, I'm sure.
Well, see, that's the thing, because for him to get through that distance, which is the middle ground, and get to Finn, which he needs to do, he has to take a lot of risks, and Finn only has to be lucky once for every 3 successful attempts that Yassine gets. And it's very hard to get completely successful attempts for Yassine, because Finn is no slouch, and he's able to get into maybe the defensive side kick, the back kick, or even just match with hands himself to make anything that Yassine throws not a clear score. So it's a tall order and a tall ask for anybody to be able to do that, especially against Finn. So I think you do need a strategy with the legs as well to be able to nick a score or 2, or at the very least just hope that you don't get head kicked by Finn at some stage, and you might have some success. For
sure. But the crazy work rate from these guys, I mean, these are the highest numbers we've seen for sure. 95 attempts for Finn, 78 for Yassine, and the contact rate, it's a 33% contact rate for Finn and a 49% contact rate for Yassine, which again, they're huge numbers. I mean, Finn's contact rate wouldn't be that dramatic or impressive if it wasn't for the number of attempts. So, that the guys are getting their contacts up into the 30s over the 4 minutes is really quite impressive.
A lot of Finn's attempts as well are to manage distance. So that obviously takes away from his contact rate and his percentage of accuracy. So that's another factor, obviously. But like, 1 contact every 6 seconds is absolutely ridiculous. And to be able to have that level of output is really impressive as well.
Yeah, across the full length of that match. A little bit unusual for these guys to be carrying fouls. That isn't usually something that we see. They're not usually too vulnerable to fouls. But the warnings, probably a little higher than we'd usually see from Yassine, and a little bit lower than we'd usually see from Finn, in fairness. So let's have a little look at the next one.
Alright, so we can see here the average flag scores is nice and high for Finn, up in that 5.5 range, which gives him a safety margin of 3.5, which is, that's what we talk about, essentially a head kick there. A little bit of a higher first to contact rate for Finn. Obviously, having the further distance, he's able to negate that further with the length of the front leg, with the carry, the side kick, and the hacks. Where Yassine is very, very successful, being last in contact with 17. Now, we do have that theory going at the moment. Is it reverse point sparring, with the people who are last in contact getting some rewards? And to be fair, Yassine got his fair share on the scoreboard and was very much in with a shout in this. We had 2 flags in play, as you can see, at the end of the fight, which means he could have brought it back to a draw.
Just lower value scores.
Massive 35 exchanges, the highest we've ever seen in any fight that we've done some numbers on. I think we've done it now over the last maybe year and a half, going into 2 years potentially. And 35 is a massive amount. So yeah, really, really high level of output.
And even the decision flips, the match, although we're looking at a 3.5 point per flag safety margin at the end of this, 2 flags in play, 2 of them were much closer, and the match stayed close right through, so that there was opportunity for numerous decision flips. So really quite an interesting one that way. Jumping just to our triad of control as we finish, I do think when we're talking about that intensity, I think Finn is a little happier to have a slightly lower intensity and dictate the pace with the front leg and not make himself overwork if it's being effective. And I think it was on Yassine to try to take over the tempo and intensity of the match and force it to the point where Finn was having to react a little bit more, give a little bit more ground, or pick up the leg when it didn't suit him, to try and eventually kind of create those opportunities to break through, find an angle through and around. And I think he did that very, very well.
Yeah, so great fight. Hats off to the guys for putting on a good show for ITF, and congratulations again to Finn. So
you asked a question during the week there, Richie, and really it was just a case of, do we just have too many rules in ITF competitions? So we're nearly splitting this in thirds again.
Yeah, so majority saying yes with that one, 66%. So like, what we don't want really is for the rules to take over from the performances that people are having, and for people's performances and abilities and what they can showcase for ITF to be taken away because of rules. And like, even there in this fight, we had 3 fouls, not for anything too sinister, I have to say. So again, maybe that shout for maybe having 3 levels of foul, warning, and I don't know, interception or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the 3 levels there, maybe potentially something that we can look at, because nothing too sinister from my point of view. Again, the rules are the rules, and the referees are playing to those rules, so it's not their fault. They're doing their job based on what they've been asked to do. So I think it's just a nice talking point, something to consider. Would it be important for us to step back a little bit and to make the important things important, and then maybe the other things not so much? Don't worry about them as much.
Yeah, I suppose kind of an ideal goal from my mind would be that, for the way I'd always put it is, if your mother came along to watch knowing nothing much about Taekwondo, would she understand who was winning and why? I mean, I think that's the goal for a sport. Keep it nice and simple, and if you have to understand the technical details and the micro infractions to the degree that we do, just to understand what's being played in the game, it's not that spectator friendly. So yeah, hopefully we can see a little bit of something on that over the next little while.
Yeah, so there we go. We're going to have a look at some more fights again next week from the Euros, so we'll get stuck into another one and maybe compare with the level that the boys brought today. And I'm sure they probably won't have the same level of output, but we'll have a look. Who knows?
Excellent. See you next week. Bye now.